Just in time for Thanksgiving, I am thankful to be here with you for another episode of the ASUN Gameday podcast. William Hall in front of the mic, Patrick Catazone behind the camera. Let's just jump right into it. Women's basketball, the Eagles are coming. That's what I just had. That's how I feel after seeing FGCU this past couple of games. I know it's only been a week since we last talked about it. They had the big change in leadership. They had the win against NJIT that kind of stopped them, the losing streak they had. I don't know how much you want to call 2 losses a streak to start the season, but it's consecutive losses. They stopped that skid there, and they beat NJIT, as I said, at home. They went to the Atlantic Slam north of the border in Canada, picked up wins against Georgetown and Cincinnati. And, that could have been the course correction that the team needed, figuring out their way as they started the season. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Don't know how far out on a limb it may be, and I could instantly be proven wrong, but I have a feeling they may not lose another game this year. They could just run it straight into conference play and just get it done. I think this team clearly as a program could turn it on when they needed to, and I think that switch might have been flipped this past week. And despite losing to Chattanooga in a game that was a great game, a strong push at the end, I still think Lipscomb has been the best team so far this season. I get what I just said about FGCU is coming. FGCU is going to be strong closing out non-conference. I believe that. But I believe up until this point, Lipscomb has been just the standard of ASUN women's basketball so far. They had a chance to push their winning streak to 7. Unfortunately, they didn't get that done. But 6-2 is still the best start in program history for the Lipscomb Bisons. And they're getting a chance to get a little break. Suffering that loss can kind of recoup. But, I think the job that Lauren Sumsky has done with that team so far this season, I don't think that loss changes a whole lot in how I'm viewing Lipscomb. I think that they're definitely, like I said, they're the best team so far. Again, short window, small sample size, but I think Lipscomb has been solid. So,
really quickly, I want to interrupt because
okay.
I have an interesting point I wanted to add to your point. There is they will have a common opponent after this week. Chattanooga comes to town to Fort Myers and plays FGCU. That'll be a good comparison game between FGCU and Lipscomb.
It will, and see, you just ruined my take on Lipscomb because I got to switch now because I just made the statement that they might not lose another game, and then Lipscomb just lost to them, and now you're pointing out. So hey,
I'm sorry. Hey, we don't know.
We don't know, but
FGC drops that game, but it'll be a good comparison. I think what you said is accurate. That FGCU might not want to lose another game this year. That's a great take, honestly.
I don't think it's a hot of a take. It's a little warm because when the team has 5 or 6, maybe more. I hadn't exactly nailed out the schedule, but they've got a handful of games left. We're only going into this is the end of November, so December 1st is next Monday. So they've got the stretch, but I don't feel like I'm saying that. Looking at the teams that I know, a couple of names that are on their schedule, they got a few wins that they can pick up, and again, all their games. I could see them when they start conference play. I think against Queens on quite an extended winning streak. But yes, that game against Chattanooga will be a great way to compare a team who's had a great start, a team who is playing great right now. It's only been 3 games. I get it. Lipscomb just had a 6-game winning streak, but it's always good to see when you have those non-conference games to kind of compare and see, they did this against this team. I get it. Monday afternoon, Lipscomb's playing Chattanooga on their court versus Chattanooga coming to play FGCU. Different circumstances, but it's still the same team, and you play who's on the schedule. So that'll be great to see. So we'll definitely be locked in just to see, again, what FGCU does to the Mocs. On the men's side, the biggest win of the week was absolutely Jacksonville. So I want to take a moment, pause things. Patrick, I need you to run the tape real quick.
Wow.
Jacksonville, Virginia Tech, Robert McCray. I think he's a problem. I think the Dolphins may be able to pull that one out.
Up ahead pass. That's going to do it. Jacksonville, who trailed by 10 at halftime. The first Power 4 win for the Dolphins in over a decade, and one of the biggest wins of the Jordan Mincy era.
So that was a prediction a few weeks ago. Hey, we called it. We said it, and they got it done. So shout out to the Jacksonville Dolphins for picking up that win. That was their first Power 4 win since 2010. Obviously, the first one of the Jordan Mincy era. We were just talking about Jacksonville waiting for them to turn it on and waiting for that game was coming that we thought that would come from them. And they still have Robert McCray, preseason player of the year. We've seen what he's able to do. He did not lead them in scoring in that game against Virginia Tech, but again, he's still a threat when he gets going. We've seen what he's capable of, and that team, I think, is I know the Mercer game got away from him there at the end. They turned it right back around and picked up another win to follow that up. So they kind of fell off track a little bit, got right back to it. So I'm very interested to see what Jacksonville does moving forward. But I think that was one of those games that, again, we called it weeks ago, and then we just more recently said that we expected Jacksonville to probably turn things on and get things going in the right direction. Another
really quick too, to your point, I think the big thing with JU has been, can they put it all together on a night-to-night basis? And when you open, they're going to open up schedule play or conference play with an incredibly difficult schedule, with Austin Peay and Lipscomb both traveling down to play them, followed by going on the road to play Bellarmine and EKU. Like, can they be consistent every single night to win those games? I think will be very interesting. I'm excited to see if they can do it.
What's the hardest game in that stretch to you?
I think you'd probably go with the first game in Lipscomb, just because I think if you could split that series and then go on the road and win both of them, you feel good. But that's going to be a difficult task to do. If you go 0-2, that makes both the Bellarmine and EKU game that much more important on the road. That's difficult. So there's a lot of great parity early in the season. It's very exciting.
I think for several reasons, the most difficult, I don't know the order of those games. I'm not sure if you gave them to me in order, but I know the last one you mentioned is EKU on the road.
Yeah.
That's the one that I think is the most difficult out of those four.
Agreed.
Because not to say that Austin Peay, I still think that Austin Peay and Lipscomb are two of the top teams in the conference. Austin Peay definitely. Jacksonville, that arena is a hard place to come in there and beat that team. Mm-hmm. So not that I'm clearly not on the team. Not that I'm saying that those will be easy ones, but home games have not been Jacksonville's issue in the past. But you're going back to Richmond, and you're going to play a team that you kind of embarrassed last March. Regular season champion, the number 1 seed. You come in there as a 10 seed and you send them home, and you make a run that outside of a last-minute three-pointer, you could have been a 10 seed in the ASUN championship final for men's basketball last year. So, different team, sort of. But you kind of, I'm sure somebody in Richmond has that game circled. So that's a tough stretch. But
what an exciting first weekend of conference play, because you're going to get the 4 of the top 4 teams in the conference, and 3 of those teams beat Power 5 conferences. Power 5 conference teams this non-conference. So that's going to be a great week of basketball. Can't wait for it.
I'm not trying to speed rush through the month of December, but let's get to January if we can, guys. Overall, I think men's basketball has been we've had the highs have been high, and the lows have been. It's not that our season has been bad. It's just kind of there. It's like I don't know. It's like sugar-free applesauce. You got the taste there. It's there. You like it, but it's just not. You know what I mean? It's just not giving you that that you need. I'm waiting for the to come in. January, we know we got it coming. It's guaranteed to come then. But we've got some games lined up through this weekend and into the month of December that could give us some more of that flavor that we're looking for when we get easing into conference play and closing out non-conference play. But let's talk about our weekly awards. A team that had also a good week, clearly, because they took home the player and the newcomer of the week for men's basketball, Central Arkansas. Elias Cato is our player of the week, and Lane Taylor, our newcomer of the week. Central Arkansas got the win against UNC Asheville. The double overtime game, that was a exciting one. They got it done. Shout out to the Bears. First-year head coach John Shulman. I'm ready to see what that team is going to be. I think they're piecing it together. And on the women's side, we've got a team that I've mentioned quite a lot since we've started this podcast this season, Bellarmine. We had Hope Savory and Hannah Abdelel winning the player and freshman of the week. And then Cameron Thomas from Stetson taking the newcomer of the week. I mean, Stetson had a good win against FAU. I'm still waiting on Stetson to kind of turn it on. They always do. It comes. Just curious if it'll come before non-conference play, but once we get to conference play, Stetson's always in the mix. But those were our weekly award winners. Again, Central Arkansas on the men's side taking both awards. Bellarmine winning 2 on the women's side, and Stetson also getting 1 as well. We're going to take a quick break. Then we'll be back with our power rankings.
From the bluegrass of Kentucky, the Arkansas River, to the beautiful beaches of Florida. From the bustling streets of Nashville to the soulful sounds of Muscle Shoals and its vibrant cities. Fueled by growth, the Atlantic Sun operates in the fastest growing region in America and broadcasting in over 20 million homes. We're everywhere you want to be, with access to 9 of the nation's top 80 media markets, including an impressive 6 in the top 50. Our 12-member institutions provide every collegiate experience from public to private to faith-based. All of our member institutions are located in the top 30 states with the most rapid growth, including 8 members located in the top 6. From the beaches to the mountains, the Atlantic Sun is the destination.
We are back, so it's time to dive in to this week's set of power rankings. I think I'm going to start with the men this week. I think they're a little less exciting, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Number 6, I've got Lipscomb. Number 5, I've got North Alabama. 4 is Austin Peay. 3 is Jacksonville. 2 is EKU. 1 is North Florida. I think it's just the fact that on the men's side, there's still not been a lot of separation. I can't say that there's a lot of separation on the women's side, but I think teams are winning 1, they're losing 1. We've got a lot of teams that have won 1 game or lost 1 game. Nobody's really on, for the most part, and not a lot of teams that are really streaking on the men's side. There's not. Again, that separation. Nobody's really pulled away and knocked out like 3 or 4 wins in a row and really showed that they're above and beyond everybody else. I think they're still kind of bunched up. And right now, momentum riding in some team's direction. Jacksonville clearly has some momentum going, so they've kind of jumped up. But I don't think what they've done is quite enough to be better than what the North Floridas and the EKUs have done overall. And, again, Lipscomb's still in the mix. Central Arkansas, I think, is on the rise. They hadn't cracked the top 6 yet, but we'll see. On the women's side, number 6 got EKU. Number 5 is Bellarmine. 4, we got Central Arkansas. 3 is EKU. 2, FGCU. But 1 is still Lipscomb. Again, I kind of laid it out earlier. Lipscomb's body of work, despite the loss, has them still in a position where I think they are the strongest team right now. But the Eagles are coming. As I started this podcast off saying, so they're at number 2. And EKU, I mean, they're, if you want to call it quietly, I guess you can say quietly, but it's not very quiet when you win 3 games in a row. I mean, so the opposite of what's going on on the men's side, the women, their teams are starting to put it together. Again, Central Arkansas, they're 4-1. They're up there. Lipscomb just had a 6-game winning streak. You got FGCU, who's won 3 games in a row. You got EKU, who's won 3 games in a row. You got Bellarmine, who's got back-to-back wins. So a lot of teams on the women's side are really just positioning themselves. So it's been very exciting to see this. The ebbs and flows of a season are just, it's exciting in college athletics. I mean, you have a team that you think they're going to be something, and then they have a week where it's a little tougher. A team that you weren't looking for, all of a sudden, next thing you know, is like, boom, they're here. So it's always exciting to take a look at what's going on. But that's where I got the teams ranked right now. So I know Patrick likes to poke holes in my ranking, so I'm going to give him a chance to. You got any?
I think you nailed it on the head. I have no notes this week, surprisingly.
Okay.
Sorry, that wasn't meant as a dig, but it definitely sounded as one.
The discourse is great. If there's some, I like to be pushed a little bit. I don't. These are just opinions. I could have bad ones. That's fair. That's fair.
I agree. I think. I mean, FGC would be the only team I'd be like, yeah, they might be number 1 now, just after a hot week. Get off to a bad start, but like. FGCU is just like, on the women's side, I'm specifically talking, it's like, they just have so many options. Amani Jefferson, Dolly Cairns stepped up specifically in that Georgetown game. Maddie Antonucci was good early in the season as well. So it's just like,
I mean, you can.
How do you? I don't know how you play that team. They just have so many options. They could beat you so many different ways.
They're going to be a problem, and to say that they could be number 1 now is not far-fetched. I mean, they in starting 0-2, having a new head coach. Again, it's a coach that's been there with the previous coach, knows the system and whatnot, but it's still a coaching change, into the season, and you still probably have arguably the best 2 names of teams that our women's teams have beaten probably belong to FGCU, and they just got them over the past weekend.
And exactly. And like, it cannot be understated how important those last 2 wins were for FGCU. When you look, you already mentioned it earlier in this podcast, but you look down their schedule, like it gets easier. So like, if you're able to pick momentum and pick up decent net wins this early, and then ride that high into conference play, like you're putting yourself up for success. And
100%.
That's huge. This weekend was huge for FGCU.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a program, as future, it was huge. So congratulations for them on those 2 big wins.
Yep. So just looking forward, looking ahead, not as far as conference play. I know I just said I want to speed run this thing, but we do have several teams on the women's side who have a chance to string together some wins this weekend, including Austin Peay. The Govs are at an MT in Boca Raton. We get chances to match up against Manhattan and FAU. Manhattan's coming into this event. They're 5-1 on the season. FAU is 4-2. So these should be some good games to watch and good tests for Austin Peay to play some challenging opponents and see if they can get that momentum built that we've seen some other teams do on our women's side. And the biggest challenge, just use that word again for Austin Peay and their MTE, the biggest challenge of the week is clearly Central Arkansas playing number 9 Kansas State. UCA hasn't won 4 meetings with Kansas State, but they last played 2 years ago. That Sugar Bears team was not the team that Tony Kemper is putting out on the floor night in, night out now at this point in 2024. So I'm going to be locked in and tuned in just to see what kind of outing the UCA can put up against a power opponent not only a power opponent, but a ranked, a top 10 opponent. it's going to be a tough test for the Sugar Bears, but we'll be excited to tune in and check that one out. On the men's side, we've got FGCU at FAU on Saturday coming up. And look, we all remember what happened last year. The Eagles knocked off number 7 at the time, FAU. Somebody may be looking for some revenge. FGCU just defeated FIU. The men's team down there in Fort Myers is trying to get themselves back on track after kind of a slow start to the season. A win against an in-state opponent would be a great way to keep that momentum going. I mean, you got one against FIU. Let's go ahead and take down the Owls as well. And we've also got some power opponents on the men's side this weekend. Jacksonville, who got our most recent upset, is matching up against Georgia. And this is the same Bulldogs team that slowed down the fast start for UNF. And the Ospreys have a chance to add another power conference opponent to their list of wins this year. They've got Nebraska coming up. I mean, you got a SEC win, you got an ACC win.
Big Ten's next.
Oh, Big Ten on top of the pile, Patrick. I'm sorry that might hurt a little bit, but we'll add them to the list.
My Midwest identity is in crisis. So I'm just kidding.
We want it. We'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take it. I'll take it for sure, Kimmy.
But it's obviously some big games coming up this weekend. Teams are starting to find their form, get their rhythm, and we're just waiting to see what teams are going to shape up to be as we close in on the end of the year, closing out 2024 and heading into 2025 in conference play. And I think it's going to be great on both sides, men's and women's. There are a lot of teams that are jockeying for position or that are going to be when conference play starts. Teams that are trying to cement their identity, teams that may be trying to rebuild and retool their identity. I mean, it's going to be exciting. So, again, I'm thankful for being here. It's the ASUN Game Day podcast. Everyone enjoy your Thanksgiving, and we'll see you in December.